What in the world is this thing? So let's see what questions we have only on Paranormal, True or False. It is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. Is this a shadow person? So as we walk around this banister, the camera will pass down the hall and suddenly a shadow moves on the door. Is that a shadow person or just a shadow? Well, we can definitely tell that there is a window in the room just because of the light shape that's on the wall and on the door. So is it possible that was a bird or a cat that was outside of that window? This shadow is definitely in the shape of a cat, and it moves like a cat jumping down from the windowsill onto the ground. So I'm not convinced this one is paranormal. I think it's just maybe the cat heard him walking on the floor that has all this debris on it. I don't know. There are simply too many other things that can be a shadow for us to assume that this is paranormal. Is this a peeping Tom? As the camera goes through this abandoned building, there is something looking at us through the empty doorknob hole. We will see the doorknob hole go from being dark to being light, as if someone was standing right there. Is it possible it's just an odd camera angle, where on the other side of the door there's a window frame that is captured? Because I noticed right here, very sharp edge. So that's why I think maybe that's a window frame or a piece of furniture, and not a human being, and not a ghost. Besides, would a ghost need to look through a hole in the wall? When can't they pass through walls? Is this a ghost? We suddenly see a blurry figure walking to the porch of that house. Was that a ghost? Are these people being haunted? I'm not sure if this is an IR sensor issue, a datamage issue, or if this is simply a shutter speed issue, but I do know that this is a camera glitch and not paranormal. I think this footage comes from 2005, and it's just an older camera that did not have all the good sensors in it and speeds in it and whatnot to be able to capture the full image when there's no light. Old tech, not a ghost. Is this a ghost nanny? As we watch this doll in this old-fashioned stroller, suddenly the umbrella that is above the doll's head will start to move. Who or what is moving this umbrella? Is it a ghost? I have mixed feelings on this one. I could see how using a string and just pulling it would cause it to move one direction, and maybe it has a tensile strength to it that causes it to move back to the other direction. But the fabric is flapping as if a wind is on it, some type of breeze. So I don't know if it's poor quality camera that makes it look like it's flapping, or if the way the string is attached is causing the fabric to move and flap a little bit. Even with enhancing the footage, we see the flap a little bit more, but it's kind of flapping on the sides where you wouldn't think a string would be attached. This one might be paranormal, I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Is this a shadow person? When the camera is pointed down this hallway, we will suddenly see a shadow on this pole that disappears. Is it just the camera angle? Or is it a shadow person? We can see that there's a dark shadow covering up that pole at this point, but then it disappears at this point. That is less than a second. I'm not sure if this is an optical illusion, a trick of the light, or if it really is a shadow person. My understanding of shadow people is they are darker than dark. The mere fact that nothing shows up in the darkness of the background makes me think this might actually be a shadow person, simply because we can only see its outline on that pole and the speed that it vanishes. Is this a shadow person? Suddenly we will see a shadow walk through the doorway. It's very faint and hard to see, but we can see a dark shape. What is that thing? Is it a shadow person? Is it a real thing? Is it some type? My guess is this is a real person who may have been dressed all in black that walked into the room, and through video editing they've made it this transparent blob. I'm going to use this oval shape and show you the basics on how editing tools can be used to recreate that image. I reduced the oval's opacity to make it transparent, and then I used a simple animation just to get it to move from right to left. It's just really an easy thing to create. Even though I have not mimicked its exact movements, I don't have those skills, but I know that this is definitely a video effect type thing where they're just, using editing tools to create this image and animate this image. So not paranormal, just an editing trick. Is this another shadowy figure? As the camera moves through this abandoned building, when the camera points towards the doorway, it appears there's a figure there. Who or what was that? Was it an optical illusion? Is it a trick of the light? Is it someone playing a hoax? When we zoom in and slow it down, it looks like there's a sleeve that is blocking that door jamb. We can also see an outline of a shoulder and chest. It appears that something is there, but is it paranormal? It almost looks like that oval that I put in the previous clip. And at this stage, that kind of looked like it was fake, like it was copy and pasted in. So when we walk through this doorway and go into this room, it's a very small room that doesn't have an ability to exit. So on the right side is shelving, and then the left side you just saw. So it's possible that he moved to the right and then got on the floor and moved out of the door, if this is a person playing a prank or a hoax. So at least we know there's no window in there to cast a shadow like this. I'm not sure on this one. I could see how it could be recreated using a living person or CG effects. Could it be some type of a mannequin or costume that's hanging from the ceiling and dangled in front of that doorway? There is a cut in the footage just before he goes through that door. Did he cut to hide whatever was hanging from the ceiling? Or did the people that I got this footage from cut that footage out? I'm not sure on this one. I could see how it could be recreated, but still, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments what you think on this one. Is this ghostly figure dangerous? Two motorcycles almost collide, but then the one motorcyclist stops. But when he stops, there appears to have been another motorcyclist or a bicyclist that kept going. This one is hurting my brain, because I believe there's a camera glitch that is causing this ghostly cyclist. But we just saw a motorcycle go the opposite direction in that same space. I know two-wheeled vehicles don't take up much space, but how is this possible? And of course, the motorcyclist that parked on the opposite side of the road, as well as the ghost cyclist, are driving on the wrong side of the road. I know it's a camera glitch as far as this guy here that disappeared, and I know that's also what would have caused that ghostly cyclist is simply a camera glitch, but there's also not enough room for the ghost cyclist. None of this makes sense, is my point. And when it doesn't make sense, typically that means it's paranormal. But I feel like I'm missing something. What is this creepy cryptid? As the camera is pointed throughout this forest, suddenly it will zoom in on some type of creature. What is this creepy cryptid? It's large, it's bipedal, it's humanoid, but is it human? Or is it the notorious Sasquatch? I know if I was wandering around in the forest and I came across anything large, I would be freaked out and running the other way. I certainly wouldn't stand still and try to capture it on footage, but I think I have more of a survival instinct than this camera operator does, because that thing could have just as easily have been a grizzly bear. And again, we have grainy footage and it's very hard to see it clearly, but I would guess it's probably a human in a costume, just because of how frozen the mouth is, which is how most masks are. Is this a demon or a devil? So the flashlight suddenly comes across something standing on top of that hill or ledge. It's all black with the exception of its head that tends to have this reddish hue to it. What is that thing? Is it demonic or devilish? Is it a shapeshifter? A costume? A hoax? A prank? Is it staged? Is it dangerous? Are they safe? Should they run? Is that a stick in its hands? A stake? A weapon? Kind of looks like a tree branch. Well, this is dramatic. If I have an urge to clap, that makes me think that this is staged. And the epic movement of just dropping the stick seems just too bizarre. I would clap for an encore to see if he drops a rock next. Is this cryptid chasing them? One of the things I look for when I am watching these videos where we're in a vehicle is I try to look for a landmark where they could have a pre-arranged meeting with somebody and say, hey, when I get to this part, you start running and then I will film you running beside us. Because we're about to come to a fork in the road, we're going to go to the left, and when we go to the left, the camera is going to point towards the left, and that's when we're going to start seeing something running beside them in the brush. See it? So So the camera was pointing straight ahead, and then all of a sudden it started pointing left and catch this thing running. That's an indicator to me that this is all staged and set up. Besides, I feel like if it was a real Bigfoot, it would have ran away from the road, not along the side of the road. One of the ways you can tell that this is a costume is the lack of muscle definition in the leg. It just looks like flabby fabric. What is this dark figure doing? In the distance, we will start to see a dark figure walk from behind the trees and along that tree line very slowly and very creepily. Is this just a person in mourning that looks like they're disappearing because they're blending in with the trees? This just gives every appearance of somebody in mourning, because this is in the area of a cemetery. They are not disappearing, it's actually the trees that they're blending in with. It is creepy without a doubt, but see, they walk behind the tree on that one, and they're walking behind a tree that we can't really see because it's blending in with the bigger tree behind it. Maybe if this shadowy figure was transparent, I might believe it was paranormal, but I think this is just a human being dressed all in black that's just walking around those trees and that forest area that is next to a cemetery. Often when you're around death, you ponder life, and this just seems like somebody pondering life. Not convinced this one is paranormal. If you agree or disagree with my analysis, please leave a comment below. You will find links to social media platforms for this channel as well as for Jim Riley in the description below. Be safe and don't investigate alone. If you appreciate this type of analytical analysis, please subscribe. And remember, question everything. Thanks for watching Paranormal, True or False.